How's it going, guys? One more week. I'm Al Smizzle. We're going to break down a Week 11 first look on DraftKings. This is no research. I have not done any work on this. I haven't even written down in my notebook the games, the totals. I don't know where anything is. This is off the top of my head, looking at salaries based on our typical cash game lineup process on how to build a lineup, looking at it and based on the research that we know from the past, and going into this week, how we're going to build a first look lineup. This is a dummy lineup, so don't throw it into your cash games for this weekend. Stay tuned for all of my other content that comes out. The Best Buys article on Thursday, Edge podcast on Thursday as well, and the other podcasts that I do, the Fantasy Football Focus 06010 on ESPN, Fantasy Forecast on ESPN, and then right back here on Friday for the Q&A on Twitch. If you're watching this video on YouTube, if you're watching it live on Twitch, thank you for being here. If you're watching it on YouTube, please smash that like button and click subscribe before you leave. If you are watching the chat scroll by, know that anybody that's in the chat is always locked on Twitch for these NFL and NBA shows to subscribers only. If you want to get involved, click that subscribe button up above. You can link your Twitch Prime account with your Amazon Prime account and get a free sub and ad-free viewing all over Twitch that you can use on this channel to get yourself involved here on the Twitch channel and on Discord. So let's take a look real quick at DraftKings for Week 11. To see what we got. So these are the games: Detroit, Chicago, Jacksonville, Cleveland, Baltimore, Green Bay, and apparently they already know that 6 days from now it's going to be windy. Arizona, Houston, Rams, Minnesota. Interesting thing to talk about here regarding Jared Goff. Washington, New Orleans, KC, Giants, Tampa Bay, Miami. We're going to have to focus on this one as well. Tampa Bay, Miami. Probably going to have to focus here as well. Chargers against Buffalo in Los Angeles. Notice I didn't say Clippers. Progress. Cincinnati against Denver in Denver, and New England against Oakland. So let's take a look. At quarterback, I usually like to pay down in my cash games. Obviously, we've gone over this every week. It allows you a lot of flexibility. Unless there's massive value everywhere and you can afford to pay up for a little bit of a higher floor guy, I want to go down at quarterback to pay less because it gives me a better opportunity to pay up for running backs and wide receivers, which have a difference, a much bigger difference between the wide receiver 1 and the wide receiver 10 on the week. The running back 1 and the running back 10 on the week is a much bigger gap than the quarterback 1 and the quarterback 10, just based on the way fantasy scoring goes. So Jared Goff is somebody we've been riding for 2 straight weeks. He's had 2 amazing weeks. He's having a fantastic season. 7 touchdowns over the last 2 games, 300 yards plus over the last 2 games. But as we've said, he is a schoolyard bully. He picks on bottom half of the league teams in terms of fantasy points per attempt at quarterback. He is squaring off against Minnesota in Minnesota. I don't want Jared Goff this week. Unless I find a different path, unless I say that or find a way that maybe he can get there. Against teams that have been in the top half, and I think he's played 4 of them, in the top half of the league in terms of fantasy points per attempt, he's averaged 12 fantasy points a game. In 2 weeks ago, before the Giants game, against teams, the 4 teams he had faced in the bottom half of the league, he was averaging 19 fantasy points a game. And then the last 2 weeks, he's averaging 30 against those 2 teams, that Houston and the Giants, who were in the bottom half of the league, right? So that's not what I want to go after, okay? That's not what I want to do. So I'm going to avoid Jared Goff this week, at least as we sit on Monday morning at 10:30 Pacific time. Stafford against the Giants, probably not going to pay up at quarterback. Brady against Oakland, I think, is interesting for tournaments. Breeze at home, somebody I always want to have exposure to in tournaments. Probably not going to do that in cash games. So let's look down here under 6K, which is usually where we want to end up. Eli Manning against KC, interesting. You know, not going to really have a high ceiling, but he's got a couple of really good young receivers in Shepard and Ingram who we want to play every week. And if you want to play pass catchers, somebody's got to get them the ball. Jay Cutler against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay very forgiving against opposing passers and pass games. Can you rely on Cutler? I don't know, but this is something that people are going to look to. And then also we have him tonight on Monday night. Is going to do a lot towards shaping people's attitudes about him. If Cutler has a really good game on Monday night, people are going to be all about playing Cutler against Tampa Bay in Week 11. If Cutler stinks it up in an island game, people are going to say, there's no way I can play Cutler. So, like, try to make your decision independent of what happens in this island game tonight. Because I kind of think he's in play, but I don't know whether or not I want to definitely have him in cash games. Bortles against Cleveland. Cleveland does a really good job against the run. Bortles is dangerous and he sucks, but look at this. We only need 15 points out of him. He's pretty much been there for the last 4 weeks. I think he is somebody we have to at least consider. Case Keenum against the Rams, probably not going to consider him, even though he had a fantastic game this week and has done very well the last 2. The Rams defense is not one that I want to go after. The chat is saying that Denver's D looks attackable now. So what about Andy Dalton? Denver's D looks attackable when it's against, their offense is terrible, and that's leading to short fields. And Denver's D looks more attackable against New England, but I'm not sure that it's going to look that attackable against this offense, right? Andy Dalton is probably somebody that I'm not going to want to hang my hat on. I'd probably rather play Bortles. I'd probably rather play Cutler than either one of those. So for me right now, the low dollar guy looks like Cutler, looks like Bortles. You might sprinkle Fitzpatrick in there with Mike Evans back, makes him a little bit more palatable as well. So let's just plug Bortles because he's the cheaper one, and we'll move on from there. Running backs. Kareem Hunt against the Giants. Kareem Hunt has not performed well, but people rely on what happened at the beginning of the year. And at the beginning of the year, he looked like the second coming, right? And every week he busted a long touchdown or busted a long gain. 58-yard, 78-yard, both in the same game. 53 yards in the second game. 69-yard touchdown in the third game was nice, right? Now, the long plays have dried up, and the fantasy scoring has massively changed, right? He did not get the volume against Dallas, and he probably should have. He did not do well against Denver, but I'd throw out games against Denver. That's just the way I do things. Denver's the Russian judge. They're always going to give you a low score. So probably not the route that I want to go this week. Gurley, his involvement in the passing game, he's still not getting like 25 carries every week, but his involvement in the passing game has been tremendous, buoying his floor, but he's the highest priced guy on the board at 8,400. Fournette against Cleveland, GPP viable, but somebody I'm not going to attack in cash games. Mark Ingram, we saw him have a huge game this week. As we predicted, his volume would bounce back after the previous week. Still not being used at all in the passing game the last 2 weeks, which, considering how good he is in the passing game and how much they were using him the previous 5, 6, 7 weeks, even with AP there, a little bit baffling that they've totally changed his role the last 2 weeks. Although they do utilize him at the goal line, he does project to get 20 touches in any game. I think that he's somebody we're going to have to look at again this week, though his percentage owned will be up, even though his price is up because of the 3-touchdown game in week 10. LaShawn McCoy always in play for me. Melvin Gordon, I can't get a handle on him. Can't really get a handle on Melvin Gordon. I don't know what to do with him. Kamara up to 7,500. In a blowout, he was going to get a few more carries, right? So he had a season high 17 touches. Still the same guy. Still producing a ton of points, right? A lot of it's coming on touchdowns, though, with 4 touchdowns in the past 3 weeks. He's not going to score a touchdown every week, but with the Saints at home and his inclusion in the passing game where it is and getting 8 to 12 carries every game, I think 15 touches with Alvin Kamara in that offense is fine. Don't know if I'm interested at that price point, though. McKinnon has gone from we thought was going to be like the main guy to now it's Latavius Murray, and I don't know what to do here, but I don't want to pick on the Rams defense. Probably never going to play Adrian Peterson because he's not involved in the passing game. Lamar Miller against Arizona at 5K is at least interesting. God, this week sucks. Kenyon Drake should get 50 to 60% of the carries, and at 4,800 against Tampa Bay, I think is definitely palatable and opens up some stuff for you. Eckler had a big week but fumbled. Melvin Gordon is Trent Richardson 2.0. His yards per carry definitely look like it, but his pass game involvement does not. Duke Johnson at 4,400. Let's take a look. BPV asked me to take a look at him. I like this, especially on DraftKings. I don't like that he's never going to be involved at the goal line. I don't like that Jacksonville's a great defense and have looked a lot better against the run recently as well. I kind of think that we got to pay up for at least one running back and maybe 2. Drake looks like a palatable value to me. I'm not seeing anybody down here that I really, really like. Joe Mixon against Denver, I'm not going to go with. We were talking about Joe Mixon on the Anti-Tinkercast. People were saying, well, Hill is out. So, like, you gotta play Joe Mixon now. And I said, okay, the problem is the volume. I said he's not getting these 20 touches that he was getting the first couple weeks that Laser was there. He's settling in here. I don't know that we can count on more than 15 touches. He got 10. As electric as he is, unless he's going to get 20 touches or 15 plus at 4K, I'm not that interested. What do I think about Burkhead at 3,600 or Woodhead at 4,400? Burkhead's interesting. Again, you're getting a part-time guy, right? You're getting a part-time guy. Take this touchdown out. He has 9 points. Okay? Because you just got to get rid of that touchdown, especially on New England because there's so many talented players. I think he's interesting. I think he's interesting at 3,600 only because he opens up value, but I think Drake gets more of the work against a soft opponent at home in a game that I assume that they're going to be favored, even though I have not looked yet. Mass Cabana 79, thank you very much for the new sub. Goathead at 3,600 is good for you. I'm going to stick with Drake right now, and then I'll go up. Chris Thompson at 5,400 is similar to the Duke play versus the Saints. I don't disagree, Doozy. I think that's I don't think that's terrible. With as much as Thompson has been involved, same situation. We're paying for backups, right? We're paying for part-time guys, and we're going to need touchdowns. Remember how much he was scoring earlier in the season? We said that's not sustainable. 1 touchdown, 2 touchdowns, 1 touchdown, got another one here. All of a sudden, the touchdowns have dried up. So I'm going to want to pay up here to assure myself that I'm going to get some volume. I'm going to do it with Ingram against Washington at home. And then we'll go on from there. I'm gonna predict, at least on Monday, a bounce back in terms of this. The receptions and the targets. He's not going to get 0.5 targets a game moving forward. He's probably going to live in this range moving forward. 5 or 6, because that's what they do. Rob Kelly will be out this week. Thompson will be the starter. Well, I mean, they're going to still use Pirine. I don't think it's going to be like all of a sudden he's out, so Chris Thompson is going to get 30 touches. Chris Thompson's not the type of body and player that can handle 30 touches. I think they'll just give Pirine 15 and they'll give him 15. You're still paying for a part-time guy. Okay, so wide receiver, we got an average. Okay, let's just plug in our 3K defense. I don't care who it is. I'm not looking. Bengals. All right. Like I legit every week in this first look lineup, all I do is plug in a 3K defense. I don't care which one it is. We'll probably end up going a little bit up or a little bit down from there in our final lineup by Sunday. But right now, I think that's fine. At least for figuring out our average remaining salary per player. Let's go with tight end now instead of going to wide receiver. So who do we attack? We attack Cleveland and we attack the Giants with tight ends. Can we afford to pay $7,300 for a tight end this week? I love Travis KELCE. I love Travis KELCE. I love the fact that he gets, 8, 9, 10 targets every single week. I love the fact that he gets targeted more in the end zone this week or this year than he has in years past. 5 touchdowns this year. I think he scored 3 or 4 all of last year, and halfway through this year he's already on 5. I love the fact that he gives you a chance at the 100-yard bonus. Got it in week 8, was 2 yards away in week 5, got it in week 4, got it in week 2. This stinker right here. And everybody's already tilting. People are pre-tilting KELCE this week. I don't know if you've noticed this, but people are saying, okay, the Giants have given up a touchdown every single week. We've streamed tight ends against the Giants every single week. They're playing arguably the best tight end in the league in week 11. He's going to fail. He's going to have 1 catch for 14 yards and no touchdown. I don't think that's going to happen. And Casey's coming off a bye. Yes? Go look up Andy Reid's record in games where he comes off the bye. It's tremendous. Andy Reid off a bye is the best coach in the history of football. So, I think there's merit for KELCE, but I think he's better in tournaments. As of right now, I want the savings, especially looking at how the running back chart looked and how tight the schedule looks. Give me, do you want to ride in my Mercedes boy? We need 8 fantasy points out of Mercedes Lewis against one of the 2 most forgiving DVP situations, defense versus position situations for the tight end. It's thin in the sense that Garrett Selleck was thin. But we don't need much out of him. If he scores a touchdown, we're living in profit town. You know, like it's too easy if he scores a touchdown. Cleveland wants to stop the run. They bail out to stop the run, not unlike the Buccaneers when they were a bad team a few years ago. When the Buccaneers were a horrible team a few years ago, before they got Winston, right? The year before they got the #1 pick to get Winston, they sold out to stop the run. All they tried to do was stop the run, and you could throw the ball all over them, right? Cleveland's doing the same thing this year. I think Bortles, the last time he played a really, really bad pass defense that was this bad was right here. 330 yards, 18 of 26, extremely efficient. A lot of it went to his wide receivers. But again, against that team, 10 fantasy points for Marcedes Lewis. I think this is a similar situation. If he gets us 7, 8, 9 points, we're fine with that, and we can move on to other positions in our lineup to allow us a little bit better, you know, a little bit better chance. Kareem Hunt is 8K for flex. Tyreek Hill is 7K. This is weird, okay? Because I want volume out of my pass catchers, and he just doesn't get it, right? I would rather pay up, like at 7K, 7,200. All these high price guys, KELCE is in that range, right? KELCE is in this range. Thomas I like at 7,400. But he's going to be matched up on a really tough cornerback wide receiver matchup with Brashad Perriman and with Norman there, even though they're beatable, right? Travis Kelce to me makes a better flex play this week if we can fit him because of that situation. And look at him versus Gronk. Gronk, 16.2 fantasy points a game. Kelce, 17.1 and coming off a bye. I like him as a flex this week. So let's get to wide receivers. We talked about how much I want to attack Tampa Bay. We've seen Jarvis Landry be very involved in the red zone this year for Miami, way more so than any other year. You know, and you look at his scoring, his floor based on how many targets he gets at 6,400 versus Tyreek Hill at 7K. Tyreek Hill's got a big ceiling if he scores a 50-yard touchdown. But Jarvis Landry at 6,400. Good Lord. Somebody mentioned how much they liked, they want to go after the Denver defense, that they think that Aqib Talib and company are now beatable. Well, you're going to be put to the test this week with A.J. Green being cheaper than he has been in forever. So I think he's somebody you have to at least consider, even with the matchup in Denver, because of how bad Denver's quarterback situation is. They're playing Brock Osweiler, who the Browns are paying like $18 million to not play for them. Stephon Diggs, bad matchup here. Don't know if I want to pay up. Chat is going crazy about Parker over Landry. Parker has the big playability, right? But Parker is not leading this team in red zone targets per game. He's not leading this team in targets per game. That is definitely going to Landry. I'm going to take the guy with the high floor with the same type of ceiling. Shepard at 6,300. Somebody else that I really like this week. We can plug him with the amount of targets he's getting. We've said this for 2 weeks. There's nobody else to throw the ball to on the Giants. Even though Peters is there, he gambles a ton. Shepard is tremendous. Coming off of a big week, he's going to be chalky again at 6,300 in my opinion. Cooper or Crabtree? Who you got? Who you got, chat? Cooper or Crabtree? Cooper or Crabtree? Cooper is 6,000. Crabtree at 5,900. Who you got, chat? Let's hear it. Let me see what you guys got. Allen. Wrong answer. This is a 2-man. Crabtree. Can't wait to see the CSU Ram conviction play. Of course. Crabbity Crab. Keelan Allen, KELCE. Oh, we're getting to KELCE. Hold on. Crab, Cooper. So it's like, it seems like it's almost 2-to-1 Crabtree, from what I see from the chat. Mexico. Crabs. All right. So the chat says Mexico altitude. Yeah. If Cooper runs too many nines. So let's see what we can get. Let's do this. Let's just do that. And now we have 6,200 for a wide receiver. Okay? So Hopkins, the hottest wide receiver in the league, Woods, the president, the mayor of Los Angeles, Robert Woods. D-Hop is sneaky interesting because he's too cheap at 6,100. He's going to get 35% of the targets from a really bad quarterback, but it hasn't affected him. Look at this. Look at this. Look at it. Look at that, chat. 14, 16, 11. That's ridiculous. He's still going to get targeted when he plays against Peterson. They're going to move him all over the field. He may not be very efficient, but he's managed to do so against the Rams, which are a tough matchup, against the Seahawks, which are a tough matchup, against Indy, which is not a tough matchup, but he had a terrible quarterback, right? He's going to get 10-plus targets, and at 6,100, we have to consider him even with Patrick Peterson involved. Even with Peterson involved, I think we need to consider him. I'm not saying he's a lock, but this is going to be a point of trepidation for me all week long figuring this out. For right now, Keenan Allen not getting the type of targets that he was getting before. Even against New England, Denver we can throw out. Jacksonville we can probably throw out. Got 4 targets. Against Oakland, should have done way more against them. Against the Giants, 12 targets, fine, but not converting them. The Chargers are just not playing well right now. Not that the Raiders are, but like we're going to have to pick a guy from this range. Who do you feel most comfortable with in this range? Now expanding that from Cooper to Crabtree, Keenan Allen, Cooper, Woods, Hopkins. Chat, what do you think? Pick one of those wide receivers from 5,800 to 6,100. Do you like Hopkins? Do you like Woods? Do you like Cooper? Do you like Keenan Allen? Or do you like Crabtree? Ashy Slashy says Hopkins take the volume. Teflon Spartan says Tree. Hopkins for volume. I don't disagree. Cooper for targets. Cooper's targets fluctuate from game to game. Like massively. Because we talked about on the weekend recap video how these are the decisions where one of these is going to smash. One of them is probably just going to put up like a 3-point fantasy day. And the other ones will be okay. You want the targets. I do want the targets. Will Woods get shadowed? I don't know where he's going to end up. If you pay attention to wide receiver cornerback matchups, and you should, Mike Clay's article comes out like late Wednesday or early Thursday. Take a look at that. He details where Peterson goes, when he shadows, when he doesn't. Is he going to shadow Woods? Is Rhodes going to shadow Woods? Is he going to play the one side? Or is he going to shadow Sammy Watkins, who is the more talented receiver of those two? Peterson, is he going to shadow Hopkins? I would assume so. He has shadowed top wide receivers before. Did you miss why Fournette is not in this lineup? I prefer Ingram against Washington. But I'm not saying Fournette's a terrible play. Peterson's the real deal, still the top corner. Yes, he's amazing and having a fantastic year. Rhodes went down yesterday? Oh, yeah, we're going to have to pay attention to the injury report. If he's out, if Rhodes is out, then all of a sudden that Minnesota defense is less scary. As a player, Woods is that good. As good as who? Woods is a solid pro. Woods is not a game breaker, although he has had 2 great game-breaking games. He's not an every week slam 12 targets at guy. He's just not that class of player. Houston still schemes Nuke open. I don't disagree with that at all. And he has a quarterback that funnels the ball to him too. As bad as Savage is, he knows I need to throw the ball to DeAndre. Okay, Rhodes came back in. Okay. New England, Oakland, possible shootout, could be ample opportunity for Crab. I don't disagree. For right now, for this lineup, I'm going to stick on Crabtree because #brand. I don't have a problem with Hopkins. Need to monitor what's going to happen with the cornerback wide receiver matchup here with Woods. Need to watch what's going to happen with the cornerback wide receiver matchup here with Hopkins because I do think that Peterson will shadow him, but I'll rely on the people that are experts in that field and stand on their shoulders based on their analysis because that's what I normally do. Keenan Allen, probably my least favorite of that grouping. So Crabtree is there. There it is. We have 300 left over. If you want to improve something from here, that's probably going to be my dummy lineup for the week. Bortles, Drake, Ingram, Landry, Shepard, Crabtree, Lewis, KELCE, and Bengals. If I wanted to get more targets, I could probably just go with Hopkins. I think he'll be extremely inefficient with those targets, but that could very reasonably give us 40 targets out of our 3 wide receivers. And with KELCE, another 10 possible, 8 to 11 targets there. So 50 targets possible out of our 3 wide receivers and our flex is absolutely fantastic. J Welks 11, thank you for the new sub. That's going to do it for the first look for week 11. Thank you guys for being here. If you're still watching on YouTube, appreciate you guys making it to the end of the video. Please click that like and subscribe, and give me a comment in the comments down below. And let me know what you think going into week 11. See you later this week. Bye, everybody.